A week before my wedding with Henry, I stumbled upon a devastating truth. He had already married someone else. Not only that, but he had even held a wedding ceremony with her. 8 years of love, and I was suddenly an outsider. Henry stood on the balcony, smoking a cigarette, his back to me. "I couldn't say no to Sarah," he muttered. "We grew up together. What was I supposed to do?" I lay on the bed, staring at him, my voice trembling. "What about me, Henry? What about Natalie?" He glanced at me, his tone softening. "The wedding will go on as planned. As for the marriage certificate, I'll keep it hidden as long as I can. Natalie, I'm sorry. This is on me. I fiddled with the ill-fitting silver ring on my right hand. But when it came to Henry and me, it was never up to him to decide." On the day of the wedding, Henry showed up impeccably dressed, his eyes pleading. "Nana, I was wrong. Please, give me another chance. We've been together for 8 years. We grew up together. I'm begging you." But when my hand brushed against his pocket and felt the hard edges of a marriage certificate, I froze. My mind raced as I pulled it out, my hands trembling. The red cover stared back at me, mocking me. Tears welled up and spilled onto my hand as I quickly wiped them away, my heart pounding uncontrollably. The certificate read, "Holder, Henry, registration date July 18th, 2024. I searched the document for any sign of forgery, praying it was some cruel joke, but the embossed seal confirmed its authenticity. It was real. Henry had truly married someone else. The name next to his on the certificate? Sarah, his first love. My fingers traced the embossed seal between their names, shaking uncontrollably. In just 1 week, I was supposed to marry Henry. We had been together for 8 years, met each other's families, and even planned the wedding together. And yet, he had secretly married Sarah just days before. I couldn't wrap my head around it. The sound of the shower stopped. Panicking, I shoved the certificate back into Henry's jacket, wiped my tears, and tried to steady my trembling body. By the time he walked into the room, I had forced all my emotions into a tight, hidden corner of my heart. "Nana, what are you standing there for?" Henry asked, stepping out of the bathroom, towel drying his hair with a smile. His gaze, as always, was enough to drown me. "What's wrong? You're staring at me like you're mesmerized." He waved a hand in front of my face. "Silly girl, go take a shower." I blinked, suppressing the turmoil in my chest. "Okay." As the bathtub filled with water, I submerged my head, letting the suffocating sensation take over. My throat burned, and I gagged, only pulling myself out when the need for air became unbearable. That's when it hit me. This wasn't a nightmare. It was real. Henry had truly married Sarah. I grabbed my phone, scrolling frantically until I found Sarah's post from that morning. Fingers intertwined, a red heart emoji, and the marriage certificate spread out on a table. "Holder, Sarah. Registration date, July 18th, 2024. The man in the photo with her? His face was blurred, but I didn't need to see it to know who it was. I clicked into her profile and realized she had returned to the country 2 months ago. Coincidentally, that was when Henry's frequent business trips began. When I stepped out of the bathroom, Henry was gone. So was the jacket I had put the certificate back into. It was as if he had left in a hurry, even knocking over a glass on the table, leaving a trail of blood from a cut. Barefoot, I tiptoed to the window and looked down. 2 blurry figures stood close together, locked in an embrace. My hands gripped the windowsill tightly, my heart burning like molten lava. The woman pulled Henry toward a car, her determination evident. He resisted weakly at first but eventually gave in, following her into the vehicle. The car's interior light flickered on and off, their intertwined shadows draining every ounce of strength from my body. I collapsed onto the bed, gasping for air, unable to sleep. My mind was a chaotic mess, replaying every moment I had shared with Henry over the past 8 years. The sound of the door opening snapped me back to reality. Henry entered quietly, trying not to wake me. He sat on the bed, pulled the blanket over himself, and moved closer to me. The goodnight kiss he gave me every night had become the thing I feared most. As his lips neared my forehead, I instinctively leaned away. Don't touch me, you're filthy." Feigning a nightmare, I turned my back to him, pretending to fall back asleep. Henry didn't press the issue, lying down beside me. I could hear his heartbeat, loud and restless, matching my own. Neither of us could sleep. After a while, Henry slipped out of bed and went to the balcony. The sound of a lighter flicking reached my ears. I opened my eyes, the stillness of the night amplifying every word he spoke into the phone. "Gabriel," he said, addressing his friend, "have you ever cheated?" There was a choking sound on the other end. "Henry, don't tell me you cheated. Are you insane? You're about to get married." Henry's reply was calm. "Yeah." "Jesus Christ, Henry. What the hell is wrong with you?" "The dead. It's true. Sally and I have already registered our marriage." On the other end of the phone, Gabriel shot up from his chair in shock. A string of expletives followed, and Henry, as always, listened with an expressionless face. "She wasn't doing well abroad," Henry explained. "Her parents forced her into a marriage and made her terminate her pregnancy. She cried and cried. You know, I can't say no to Sally. We grew up together. We've been through so much. I love her." The most ironic words fell into my ears, and I could almost hear the sound of my heart plummeting into an abyss. "Henry, you love Sally, but what about me? Do you not love me anymore, or did you never love me at all?" There was silence on Gabriel's end. "What about Natalie? Does she know? What are you going to do about her?" Henry, as if choking on smoke, coughed and replied impatiently, "What am I supposed to do about Natalie? I don't know. I can't just break up with her. She's not that cruel." A sharp intake of breath came from the other end of the line. "Henry, I'm telling you, this time you've really gone too far. What about the wedding? What if, after the wedding, Natalie pushes you to register the marriage? How are you going to explain it to her then?" Henry turned to glance at me lying on the bed. His tone softened. "The wedding will go on as planned. As for the certificate, I'll delay it as long as I can. I owe Natalie an apology. I still care about her." The rest of his words were carried away by the wind, too faint for me to catch. I simply turned over and buried my head under the blanket. My fingers traced the ill-fitting silver ring on my right hand. When it came to Henry and me, it was never up to him to decide. Henry and I were childhood friends, the kind people often referred to as childhood sweethearts. But in reality, we were more like strangers who happened to grow up in the same neighborhood. From the very beginning, Henry's heart belonged to Sally. Sally was the epitome of purity, twin braids, white dresses, and low-top white sneakers. She looked like an angel and was the dream girl of every boy in our neighborhood. And me? I was Sally's only friend, the one she didn't mind hanging out with despite my awkward buck teeth. The first time I met Henry, I was squatting in the sandbox building a castle. A group of kids pushed me over, and I fell face first into the sand. Children can be cruel, their malice unfiltered. "Natalie, were you a donkey in your past life? Why are your teeth sticking out like that? You look like an ugly donkey." They surrounded me, mimicking donkey brays until I burst into tears. That's when Henry appeared, like the hero in a storybook. He chased the kids away, helped me up, and brushed the sand off my dress. "Don't cry. Here, have some candy." I kept that piece of candy for years. When it melted, all that was left was the wrapper and the stick. Henry played with me for hours that day. When he walked me home, he hesitated before handing me a pink envelope. His ears turned red as he mumbled, "Natalie, can you give this letter to Sally for me?" A gentle breeze blew away the blush on my cheeks. From that moment, I knew I wasn't the one he favored. I watched as Henry and Sally went from being madly in love to breaking up. I was always there, the silent backdrop to their story. When Sally's parents divorced, her mother took her abroad. On the day they broke up, Henry and Sally clung to each other at the airport, crying their hearts out. I stood to the side, guarding Sally's 8 oversized suitcases. Sally made Henry promise never to forget her. He swore to the heavens that he never would. What I didn't have the heart to tell Henry was that just 2 days earlier, Sally had confided in me that being with him was boring. Henry was devastated for a long time. During that period, I stayed by his side, trying to help him through it. He barely ate or slept, and I was so worried that I accidentally gave myself away. One day, I dragged Henry on a hike. We took a less traveled path and ended up falling into a pit. Then it started raining. As the water rose to our knees, I told Henry to climb out by stepping on my shoulders. The rain poured down relentlessly. Henry looked down at me and asked, "Natalie, what about you? What will you do if I leave?" I shook my head vigorously. "Natalie, do you like me?" When Henry asked that question, it felt like the entire world went silent. All I could hear was the pounding of my heart. I don't know when Henry realized my feelings for him, but I was terrified he'd distance himself from me because of it. Before the water reached my neck, Henry found a rescue team and got me out. After that, we never spoke about that day again. Eventually, Henry moved on from his heartbreak. In our sophomore year of college, Henry confessed to me. He said I was the one who had always been there for him, the one who understood him best. I thought finally the scales had tipped in my favor. I was the one he chose. When he handed me a bouquet of roses, despite my allergy, I felt like the happiest person in the world. At least, that's what I believed 8 years ago. But in the end, I was still the one left behind. Our love turned into a farce. 8 years wasted. I turned to look at Henry, already sound asleep beside me. Who suffers? Who changes? If I've never been anyone's favorite, never been cherished, then I'll cherish myself. I'll favor myself. The next morning, Henry and I both woke up with dark circles under our eyes. As I sat in front of the mirror, pressing foundation onto my face, Henry leaned over with a smug grin. "Hey babe, put some on me too." On any other day, this would have been one of our little inside jokes. I'd pretend to dust some powder on his face or draw on his eyebrows. But today, my foundation. I refused to touch him. I pushed Henry away. "Foundation is expensive. Don't waste it." Henry froze, his eyes filled with confusion. "What's wrong? Did I do something to upset you?" I didn't respond. "Is it because I went out last night without telling you? Are you mad?" "Gabriel was dealing with something urgent, and I forgot to let you know." "Come on, my dear wife. Don't be angry." I couldn't understand how Henry could keep such a huge secret from me and still act like nothing had changed, still calling me his wife. Suddenly, Henry's gaze fell on my left hand, and his tone turned sharp. "Where's your ring? Why aren't you wearing it?" I thought of that ill-fitting ring. "Oh, I almost lost it while washing my face earlier, so I left it by the sink. You can check if it's still there." Henry immediately turned and went into the bathroom to look for the ring, which had long since gone down the drain. He searched high and low for over 10 minutes but found nothing. "My dear wife, I can't find it." I cautiously lifted my eyes, letting my eyeliner curve upward. "Then it probably got washed away. It's not that valuable. We can just buy another one." Henry stood in the bathroom doorway staring at me, his eyes blazing with anger. "Natalie, what do you mean? The ring I gave you, you just lose it like that. And you say it so casually? Do you even care about the effort I put into it?" Henry stormed out, slamming the door so hard that the bright red wedding decoration on it fell to the floor. He was furious over a ring, feeling his efforts had been disrespected. But on the day he and Sarah got their marriage license, did he ever think about how I felt? The pain, the tears, the heartbreak? That ring was something Henry bought for me with his first paycheck during his senior year of college. Back then, Henry was passionate and sincere. He ran to me with a small box in his hands. "Natalie, guess what I got you?" Before I could answer, Henry eagerly pulled out the ring and slipped it onto my finger. He cupped my face and kissed me fervently. "Natalie, when I make more money, I'll buy you an even better, more expensive ring." In that moment, I believed Henry truly loved me. So I overlooked the fact that the ring didn't fit my finger. I never doubted his sincerity, but sincerity is fleeting. Now that his love is gone, the ring doesn't need to stay either. When my phone screen lit up, I was already dressed. A message from Sarah: "Nana, I'm waiting for you at the cafe in Summit Mall." I was certain Sarah knew about me. I was also certain she knew I was supposed to marry Henry. After all, she had blocked me from her social media for 8 years. For someone so brazenly coming to confront me, Sarah was both foolish and fake. When I saw Sarah, she looked just the same as before, dressed in white, carrying a linen tote bag that made her seem gentle and refined. Sarah didn't recognize me at first. Her gaze lingered on me for a moment, puzzled, before shifting away. It seemed that without the buck teeth, freckles, and darker, chubbier appearance, I had lost my distinctiveness. When I sat across from Sarah, her eyes widened in surprise. "Natalie, you've changed so much. Did you get plastic surgery? Must have cost a fortune." An odd tension hung between us, but I easily caught the fleeting jealousy in Sarah's eyes. "I've been reading some philosophy books. They say your appearance reflects your state of mind. When your heart opens up, so does your beauty. You, on the other hand, haven't changed much. How's the cozy life abroad treating you? Everything going well?" My words hit a nerve. Sarah's expression faltered, but she forced a casual smile. "Not bad. For adults, not bad usually means not good." Sarah held her coffee cup, the massive diamond on her ring flashing in my direction. That ring, Henry and I had once looked at it together. "Nana, how about we use this as our wedding ring?" Henry had asked, his face full of anticipation. "Too big, too gaudy, too flashy," I had said, using those excuses to reject it. In truth, I just didn't want Henry wasting money. I cared about him. Pretending not to notice the diamond ring on Sarah's finger, I lowered my head to sip my coffee. Sarah couldn't resist any longer. She extended her hand, showing off the ring. "Natalie, I'm married. This is the wedding ring he gave me. Isn't it beautiful?" My heart clenched, a dull ache spreading. So this is what it feels like, to watch another woman flaunt Henry's love in front of me. I replied coolly, "It's beautiful." As if encouraged by my response, Sarah began to openly share stories about her and Henry. Every word, every sentence, felt like a knife carving into my heart. Actually, I told him not to buy such a big ring. It's too flashy and expensive. But he insisted on giving me the best. I couldn't talk him out of it. Men, right? Always wasting money. Sarah listed every item she was wearing, from her dress to the hair clip in her hair, all gifts from Henry. "Aren't you curious who my husband is?" Sarah stirred her coffee, her doe-like eyes fixed on me, watching for any flicker of emotion. "You actually know him. We grew up together, Henry." As Sarah's words hung in the air, I saw someone approaching from a distance. Henry, carrying several shopping bags, walked closer. His steps slowed as he spotted me, his face filled with panic, like a child caught doing something wrong. He stopped in his tracks, unsure whether to approach or retreat. I raised my hand and waved. "Henry, I'm here." Sarah shot me a surprised look before turning and running toward Henry. She threw herself into his arms, only to be pushed away without hesitation. She fell to the ground. "Henry, why did you push me? That hurt." Henry stood frozen in place, his knuckles gripping the shopping bag so tightly they turned white. His face looked as if he were heading to his doom. I thought to myself, he must be scared. Sarah pulled Henry to sit on the bench across from me, leaning against his shoulder with a smug look as she raised an eyebrow at me. "Natalie, this is my husband, Henry. You're not a stranger to him, are you?" she said with a giggle. Not a stranger at all. From the moment I could remember, Henry had always been a part of my life. I picked up the coffee in front of me, my hand trembling slightly. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't remain calm when I saw Henry with another woman. Pretending nothing had happened was impossible. I have to go, I said abruptly, sensing my emotions spiraling out of control. Grabbing my bag, I fled the suffocating cafe. The moment I stood up, tears betrayed me, blurring my vision. Natalie, don't go. Henry chased after me all the way to the elevator. Natalie, Nana, please, let me explain. When he grabbed my hand, I turned and slapped him hard across the face. Explain what? Explain why you're with Sarah, why you married her, why you slept with her. Can you explain any of that, huh? I wiped my tears furiously, my voice trembling with anger. You're such a bastard, Henry. Nana, you know everything? Henry lowered his head, unable to meet my eyes. Yes, I know everything. I know you married her behind my back. Oh, and congratulations on your wedding, I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Henry flinched as if my words had struck a nerve. He suddenly looked up, his expression pained. Nana, don't say that. He stopped, realizing he had no excuse. Silence hung heavy between us. Natalie, give me some time, he said, his voice steadying as his gaze turned resolute. I'll divorce Sarah. I'll handle everything between us. It won't affect our wedding, I swear. I let out a bitter laugh. Do you think I believe you? Not far away, Sarah, who had hurried after us, screamed in shock when she heard Henry mention divorce. Henry, are you going to abandon me too? Henry hesitated, torn. I shook off his hand. Let go, Henry. You've never chosen me, so why make it harder for yourself? Letting go is better for both of us. Henry's grip loosened. Just as I was about to step into the elevator, he grabbed me again. His eyes were red, his voice desperate. Natalie, can't you give me one more chance? Are you really so heartless as to leave me behind? A marriage certificate means nothing. It can't bind my love for you. As if in defiance, Henry tightened his grip on my wrist. Natalie, I know I was wrong. Come back to me. We can go back to how things were. I smiled coldly, my anger barely contained. Henry, that's not how you apologize. You need to bow your head, be sincere, and show real action, not try to break my wrist. Henry let go. As I descended the escalator, I caught a glimpse of his reflection in the metal panels. He kicked the escalator, punched it, each blow a furious release of his frustration. By the time I stepped out of the mall, the wind had dried the tears on my face, and the oppressive weight in my chest was swept away by the stormy gusts. Letting go, it turned out, could happen in an instant. For 3 days, the storm raged outside with relentless wind and rain. I stayed curled up under my blanket, sniffling. My mom paced around my room, clapping her hands in frustration. That Henry. What kind of man cheats before the wedding and dares to get married to someone else? Does he think our family is a pushover? I'll give him a piece of my mind. My dad slammed the newspaper on the table and stood up angrily. What's there to talk about? Let's go to his house and drag that boy over here. What kind of nonsense is this? My daughter stood by him for years, and now, just before the wedding, he cheats and marries someone else? How could he hurt her like this? I blew my nose loudly. Mom, Dad, there's a storm outside. Just stay home and read the paper. Your daughter's fine. Stronger than you think. I'm not about to hang myself over this. My mom leaned in close. Are you sure you're okay? Don't bottle it up in front of us. If you need to cry, cry it out. Holding it in will only make you sick. I'm fine, I said, pushing them out of my room. Before closing the door, I poked my head out. Mom, set me up on a blind date, will you? On the 4th day, the storm passed. I drove a small pickup truck to Henry's place to pack up my things. After all, there was a lot of stuff, and it wasn't cheap. Of course, I wasn't alone. My 2 cousins and 3 uncles came along. I had politely suggested that violence wasn't necessary, but my eldest cousin had already claimed the passenger seat. The moment I opened the door, the stench of alcohol hit me like a wall. I took 2 steps back. Henry stumbled out, a bottle of whiskey in one hand and his other hand scratching his waistband. The moment he saw me, his eyes lit up. In a single stride, he was in front of me. "Natalie, you're finally back," he exclaimed. "The hotel manager called me yesterday. The wedding venue is set up just as you wanted. The menu and guest list are ready for your approval. The bridal shop also called. They want you to try on the dress one last time to see if any adjustments are needed. Natalie, should we go check it out?" Henry looked at me with hopeful eyes. It was as if he had forgotten what had happened before. I thought he must have drunk too much. Drunk enough to deceive himself. "Henry, I'm here to pack my things." I pulled out 2 contracts and slapped them on his face, one for company shares and one for the house. Back then, Henry refused his family's help and wanted to make it on his own, so I invested in him. This house was also bought with a loan, and we agreed to pay half each. The house's renovation costs also needed to be assessed and split evenly. Henry clutched the contracts tightly, his eyes bloodshot. "Do we really have to split everything so clearly?" "Yes, absolutely." Bringing along my cousins had its advantages. 3 of them were moving my luggage, while 2 stayed by my side. Henry stood in the corner holding the contracts. I scrutinized him, unkempt, disheveled, with a faint air of anxiety. Clearly he was 2 years older than me, yet he seemed like a child in need of care. His nose wasn't high enough, and the glasses he wore always slid down. Nearly 30, and his face still broke out in acne, pockmarked. Not tall, and when I wore heels, I could see the bald spot on his head. What I once thought was perfect was now exposed without the filter of love. "Henry, you're quite ordinary. Without my love, you're nothing." As I finished speaking, Henry looked up at me, his lips twitching. He signed the contracts and handed them to me, then went back to his room and pulled out 2 crumpled, smoke-scented sheets of paper. The words "apology letter" caught my eye. I folded the letter without expression and handed it back to Henry. "You're not even going to read it?" So heartless, leaving no room for reconciliation. "Natalie, have you already lost all feelings for me?" Henry's eyes were filled with unwillingness and confusion. "Natalie, what will it take for us to go back to how we were? Do I need to divorce Sarah, cut ties completely for you to accept me again?" Henry raised his voice, emotions flaring. "Natalie, say something. Why won't you speak?" Just as Henry tried to get closer, my cousin gently pushed him, causing him to stumble and fall. "Henry, what do you want me to say?" "Forgive you. I've already accepted my bad luck, wasted 8 years of my life. Now that I've finally seen your true colors, you still want to drag me back into that hell? I'm neither stupid nor foolish. I spent 8 years with you, and you turned around and married Sarah, reclaiming your lost pure first love. Now, you want to abandon your legal wife, divorce her, and choose me. In other words, how am I any different from Sarah back then? We're just things you lost and want to regain. I'm not as naive as Sarah. The problem between us was never about Sarah, it's that I've finally seen who you really are. Heartless people never deserve true love. Henry, I wish you well." I pulled up the handle of the last suitcase and turned to enter the elevator. In the final moment, as Henry clung to the elevator door, he said, "What man doesn't make mistakes, Natalie? Can you guarantee the next man won't cheat on you? That he will be with you forever, just the 2 of you?" As the elevator doors closed, tears welled up in Henry's eyes, and my cousin quickly covered my eyes. "Don't look, sis. It's crocodile tears." For 3 months, I buried myself in stacks of paperwork. The contract I had Henry sign back then was straightforward. He didn't realize it was a full transfer of shares to me. The office we once shared was cleared out and occupied by someone else. Everything related to him was gradually fading away. I hadn't seen Henry directly since. But Sarah found me instead, asking to borrow money. Sarah said Henry was suing her for divorce, and she had no money to fight the case. Her belly was growing, but Henry didn't believe the child was his. "Nana, we were friends once. Could you lend me some money? I'll give Henry back to you. I won't compete with you for him anymore." I glanced at the large diamond ring on Sarah's hand. Selling that ring would be quicker than coming to me for money. Sarah's face turned awkward as she removed the ring and sighed, tossing it into the trash. "It's fake. Henry never gave me any ring. He doesn't love me. The person he loves is you." As she spoke, Sarah started to cry. "Henry is such a jerk. He never loved me, not from the start." I quickly stopped Sarah from continuing and handed her $10,000. "Whether it's for a lawsuit, an abortion, or going back abroad to find your mom, don't bother me again." Sarah pursed her lips. "Why are you lending me money? I don't want this child to be born into such a broken family, nor do I want to hear anything more about Henry. I'm paying for peace." I tidied up the documents on my desk, turned off the lights, and went downstairs. Not far away, Lucas was leaning against his car, holding my favorite barbecue, waving at me. Lucas was the blind date my parents had arranged. He was decent in character and appearance, and our families were well matched. My parents were worried I'd get hurt again and only introduced him after thoroughly investigating his family background. After 2 months, Lucas and I had no sparks, just compatibility. And perhaps compatibility is the best. I ran into Lucas's arms, playfully teasing him. "Don't spoil me so much. You're going to make me gain weight. If you don't gain a little weight, how will you fill out a wedding dress? I wonder who will be complaining in front of the mirror then. Oh dear, why is there no meat? There's no meat." Lucas mimicked my tone with a chuckle. I playfully pinched his waist, knowing full well I wasn't referring to his belly. Our wedding was set for 2 months later, a date chosen by both our families. Neither Lucas nor I had any objections. The wedding dress I initially bought was sold off, surprisingly fetching 8 times its original price. The new dress was crafted by the same master tailor. When Lucas and I walked hand in hand into his shop, he adjusted his glasses and nodded approvingly, saying we looked much more suited for each other. As the car started, I noticed someone in the vehicle next to us. It was Henry, whom I hadn't seen in 3 months. He was slumped over the steering wheel, his fingers trembling slightly. He still hadn't taken off the ring I gave him. Not long after, the receptionist handed me an unmarked envelope. Inside was a court document confirming Henry's divorce, Sarah's abortion papers, and a thick stack of letters, all of which I tossed into the trash. What a disgusting thing to do. On the wedding day, I was in my white gown, with my sisters adjusting my train, when the door suddenly swung open. Henry appeared wearing the groom's suit we had once chosen together. "Nana, please don't marry him," he pleaded. I frowned instinctively. Was Henry here to cause trouble today? No way. I was determined to marry Lucas. "If you want to make a scene today, I don't mind having you spend a few days in jail," I warned. Henry stepped forward and grabbed my wrist. "Nana, I was wrong. Please give me another chance. We've known each other since we were kids, 8 years of memories. I beg you, I can't let you go. I promise I'll change everything from the past. I've already divorced Sarah. I swear I'll be good to you, only you. I can't live without you, Nana. I'm begging you, don't marry him." In stark contrast to Henry's desperation was my cold indifference, like a detached observer. "Henry, do you have anything else to say? If not, leave your last words." Lucas rushed in, positioning himself between Henry and me, landing a solid punch on Henry's face. "Always thinking about my wife, Henry? Have some dignity as a man." Blood trickled from Henry's mouth, and I quickly grabbed Lucas's hand, shaking my head. "Don't waste our time. It's not worth it." Lucas held my hand tightly. "Don't worry, honey. I'm here. I gave Lucas a quick peck on the chin. Henry, snapping back to reality, looked at me in disbelief. Nana, did you see him hit me? I did. So what? Lucas shielded me as we moved aside, watching Henry lash out, breaking a mirror and snapping a chair leg. No one said a word. They just watched him quietly. Suddenly, Lucas spoke up. I know why Nana left you. Henry turned sharply. Why? Lucas gestured to the chaos around us. Don't worry, I'll take good care of Nana from now on. Hand in hand, Lucas and I walked away, leaving Henry standing there, dazed. The wedding went smoothly. As we exchanged rings, I spotted Henry hiding in a corner, looking as disheveled as that night when I looked down from the window at him and Sarah. During the last round of toasts, Henry sat awkwardly among friends, who exchanged glances but politely drank the celebratory wine. Natalie, after all these years, when did you let go of me? Henry suddenly stood up, shoulders slumped, asking as if it took all his strength. Lucas instinctively wrapped his arm around my waist. I pondered for a moment. I guess I always knew I wasn't the first choice. Without expectations, there's no disappointment. But even when hit hard, my brain still registers pain. In the end, I said nothing, just walked further away with Lucas. Henry's perspective on Natalie's wedding day, I initially planned to crash it. But when I saw Natalie and Lucas smiling so happily in their photos, a terrifying thought crossed my mind. Natalie seemed to have forgotten me long ago. As I opened doors one by one, searching for Natalie, I overheard laughter from inside a room. Nana, this simple wedding dress suits your figure so well, someone said. Yes, much better than the previous elaborate one. Have you been secretly taking supplements? Another teased. Oh, using the groom as a supplement? No wonder you look so good. They all laughed, including Natalie. I closed my eyes, trying to remember what Natalie's smile looked like. It seemed she didn't smile much. During their conversation, someone mentioned my name, and the room fell silent for a moment. Henry? He's not important anymore. If you hadn't mentioned him, I would have forgotten, Natalie said lightly, her words stabbing into my heart like a knife. Suddenly, I found it hard to breathe, loosening my tie and gasping for air. Natalie, don't forget me, I thought as I pushed open the door, fearing I might see hatred on her face. But Natalie merely frowned, as if. I was afraid she would ruin her wedding, so I caused a scene. I knew my behavior was childish and ridiculous, but usually, Natalie would try to talk some sense into me. This time, she didn't. I realized I had become a complete fool. I wished Natalie would at least scold me. Even if her gaze was a little less indifferent, I would feel a bit relieved. But there was nothing. Suddenly, I remembered what Sarah said to me in court. Henry, you really think you're some kind of Prince Charming, beloved by all with endless chances for redemption. Dream on. Even if we divorce, do you really think Natalie would give you a second glance? She's long seen through you. You're trash, a nobody, and you'll never deserve genuine affection. Go cry to your buddies, you heartless, selfish, immature jerk. And by the way, I never loved you. You were just a stepping stone, got it? I understood then that I didn't deserve love, especially not Natalie's love. Watching her stand on stage, sweet and happy, half of the bitterness in my heart dissipated. I didn't know when Natalie let go of me, so I asked her. I was afraid I would never be able to let go of her. I didn't even know why this worried me, but Natalie didn't answer. She didn't even want to say one last word to me. 6 years later, Natalie's daughter was already 4. I secretly went to the kindergarten to see the little girl. She was adorable, just like Natalie when she was young, with chubby cheeks that seemed to hide countless treats. I remembered how Natalie used to hide lollipops in her mouth as a child, one on each side, like a little hamster. Watching the little girl run into Natalie's arms and sweetly call her mom, I thought that if I hadn't done those foolish things back then, my daughter with Natalie might have been this age too. Thinking of this, I couldn't help but laugh at myself. Henry, stop dreaming.